Hey guys, Justin here. Looking forward to another great week on iRacing. Let's take a look at the tracks. I gotta go. Hey guys, not Justin here. I wanted to talk about something today that pretty much everyone has a very strong opinion on, and that is alt accounts or Smurf accounts. Why are there so many Smurf accounts and Oval Series in particular? And why are they so unpopular? And how does it affect everybody else's race? Well, in terms of why Smurfs are so prevalent in Oval, it kind of ties back to a previous video I did about the problem with iRating. There I talked about how ovals in general seem to have a higher level of variance in terms of the finishing position of any given car due to things like split pit strategies, more cautions, more contact, stuff like that. This makes results in terms of pure finishing position a lot less consistent in oval than say in certain types of road racing or maybe even dirt road racing. The other main reason people maintain Smurf accounts is because iRating also increasingly favors specialization, so only driving the same type of car or maybe even the same type of tracks over and over again and really avoiding everything else. It's very common for short track specialists to drive on an alt for anything in NASCAR and vice versa. But then begs the question, why pay all that extra money and go through all that extra hassle just to not care about iRating? Does iRating even matter? And that's a great question, but the problem is it kind of goes a little bit deeper than surface level there. A lot of it has to do with psychology. Just like any other video game, people always feel better when they see tangible progress. Many people can tie tangible progress to increases in speed, better race results, more wins, but many people tie the tangible progress to their iRating. And the problem with ELO systems like iRating is that when you become a bit of a statistical outlier, suddenly you get punished a lot more for poor performances than you gain for great performances. For example, I accidentally black flagged myself off the start of a race yesterday and lost 120 iRating for it, but when I won the next race, I gained only 20. Now, there's nothing wrong with that mathematically, that's great. That's how it should work. But psychologically speaking, the loss of 120 iRating feels so much worse than the gain of 20 by winning the next race, and so people circumvent that by racing on an alt account. Now, personally, I do have an alt account that I don't keep active and don't really race on anymore, and the only time I ever race on it is for Super Speedway weeks, because that takes all the factors that I previously talked about and brings it to the max. The variance is the highest, you don't really feel that great for winning one of those races, and losing one of those races will wipe out 5 or 6 races worth of wins that you could have. And of course, not everybody has the same mentality as that, but quite a few do from my experience. Though there are some things that people do on alt accounts that I really don't like, and I know that's why people dislike alt accounts in general. The first thing I don't like to see is when people get on their alt account, don't qualify, start from the back, and then storm through the field. If you don't have the balls to do that on your main account, you just look like a jerk doing it on your alt account. I think the moment that you are affecting someone else's race in a way that you wouldn't be if you were on your main account, that's when it makes alt accounts really scummy in my opinion. This also applies to when people race differently on their alt account than their main account. A lot of people tend to race more aggressive when there's less on the line for them in their psychology at least, and so they'll do moves that they wouldn't otherwise do on their main account. I don't have as much of an issue on this as long as the moves aren't dirty in general. If they're perfectly clean moves but still aggressive, fair enough. But what's the actual mathematical effect that Smurfs have on other drivers? Well, if you're unlucky enough to face a Smurf working their way up on a new account in either a rookie or a middle split, then you basically lose one position automatically. Now that one position translates to about 10 iRating, so outside of top splits, every Smurf that you've come across has cost you 10 iRating, which can add up quickly. Top split's a little more difficult of a calculation. Let's say that the average difference between a Smurf and the main account is about 2,000 iRating. So if we subtract 2,000 from the overall field strength, that basically translates to about 100 SOF change. So what's the difference between 100 SOF? Well, for most people, you're going to see a difference between 2 and 5 iRating difference, just because the SOF is 100 lower. And so in this instance, if everything was the same exact running order except the person on their alt account was on their main, that means that you would either gain 2 to 5 less iRating or lose 2 to 5 more iRating because the overall strength of field was decreased. So if you're not in top splits, multiply all the times you've seen a Smurf account and multiply it by 10, and that would be how many more iRating you would have today if they'd never raced at all. And if you frequent top splits, think about all of the times that you have raced against somebody's Smurf account and multiply that by about 3, and you can even have multiple in one race. And that would be the amount of more iRating that you would have if everyone ran on their main accounts every single time. But here's the catch-22 of the matter. If you care about iRating enough to be upset that you missed out on all that iRating from people running alt accounts, then surely you understand the reasoning of why people run alt accounts to preserve iRating in the first place. You can't really have it both ways. Either you fully care about iRating and you say, this sucks, they're gaming the system, or you don't care about iRating and say, whatever, I'm just here to race. But then there's one more elephant in the room, and that's why iRacing even allows alt accounts to begin with. And I think the answer is about as obvious as you would expect. You have people buying 2, sometimes 3, or even 4 copies of the same content, maintaining subscriptions for everything. It is a boatload of money for iRacing. So yes, Smurf accounts probably have an overall negative impact on the community as a whole, but they're not going to go away anytime soon. Well, I guess I should just race on my main account then. It's not like I'm gonna ever go pro anyways. What do I need the iRating for? Well, I mean, if Time Majeski does it, I guess I freaking...